Here's an example of an absolute value inequality. The example is the solution's x with an absolute value is less than 3. So what that means is that there are less than 3 units away from 0. So we write this as an inequality. It's a compound inequality. As a graph, it starts at -3 and stops at 3. And all the values in between -3 to 3 would be possible solutions. This is the word and. Remember, you can have an x greater than -3 and x is less than 3. That's a conjunction absolute value inequality. The second example, now my absolute value inequality is now greater than. So it has to be more than 3 units away from 0. So how we write this, x is less than -3 or x is greater than 3. Notice that they go away from each other. This is a disjunction absolute value inequality, where we have -3 more than 3 units away. Again, at 3, more than 3 units away. So here's the definition of an absolute value inequality. Notice both of them, the A has to be positive number for us to find the solution. So the first scenario is when absolute value of x is less than A, then you have a conjunction. If your x is greater than A, then you'd have a disjunction. And the way I remember this is we keep the first inequality, and then we change the second inequality and the sign. So I say keep, change, change. So here's an example. We have the absolute value 5 minus 3x is less than 9. And we want to solve this inequality. So we have the keep in this one. And then we're going to change the inequality and change that negative to a -9. Change, change. Now we're going to solve them both out separately for x. So let's take this first one. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we're left with -3x is less than, and now 9 minus 5 is 4. Then we need to divide both sides by -3. Remember what happens when you divide by a negative number in inequality. It's going to flip inequality's direction. I still have the x now left on the left side, and now I have -4/3. On the right equation here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we're left with -3x on the left, greater than, and now -9 minus 5 is -14. Now we're going to divide both sides by -3. We need to switch the inequality direction because we divided by a negative number. We're left with an x on the left, and now -14 divided by -3 is 14/3. Then we could take our time and graph this inequality out. On a number line. So we have 0 here. Remember, this is x greater than -1.3 repeating. And this is x is less than 4.6 repeating. Put a 0 here in the middle. -1, -2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have x less than 4.6, with the open circle, less. And then the second one, negative 1 1/3, about here. And that is greater. So notice these two go together. This next example, the absolute value of 3x minus 7 is greater than 1. Notice we will keep the first inequality, and then we will change the inequality's direction here, and the sign. Now it's going to be negative 1. And this is an example of a disjunction. So we solve these two separately for x. So first step here is to add 7 to both sides. So we have 3x greater than 1 plus 7 is 8. Divide both sides by 3. 4x is greater than 2.6, repeating. Add 7 to both sides. We're left with 3x on the left. Negative 1 plus 7 is 6. Divide both sides by 3. So x is less than 2. And notice the word in between there is or. So now if we graph this on a number line, we have 0, 1, 2, 3. The blue inequality is 2.6, so about here, and it is greater than. And then the green one is at 2, and it is less than. This example very similar to the last one, but we first want to divide both sides by 2. So I have this original absolute value, but I need to divide it by a 2 to remove this 2 from here. So then I have 4.5. Now we would do the same thing as this one where we'd set up two equations, or two inequalities. So it would be x plus 10 is greater than or equal to 4.5, or, that's our key part, x plus 10, and now we're going to flip the inequality and change the sign. And then we would solve those both for x and graph them on a number line. This last example has a problem right here. The a, that thing on the right side of the inequality, must be a positive number. So no solution exists with this problem. So be careful on these.